Welcome to the Shock Your Potential podcast with your host, Michael Sherlock. We all have potential, but sometimes we need inspiration to get us to our peak performance. Whether you are starting out in your career, ready to move up the corporate ladder, or taking the leap into entrepreneurship, Michael's guests provide powerful tools and resources to shock your potential. Shock Your Potential is a global professional development training company committed to your unique journey. Learn more about us today at shockyourpotential.com. Listen in to today's expert.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Shock Your Potential. I am, of course, your host, Michael Sherlock, and all month long we are talking about love. Well, specifically leading with love. And by now, you know that my belief is that if we add just a little bit more love in what we do, love for our work, love for our clients, love for ourselves, we will actually have some incredible outcomes. And I am so excited to talk yet again to my guest today. We've had some fun trying to get this taped and have a great tape. So I feel like I know him so much. But Vernon Brown is a happiness and success coach, and he provides the medicine the world needs a prescription for. He shows entrepreneurs how to leverage happiness to become more successful, strategic, and influential, both personally and professionally. And I think this is where the key is with him. He says happiness is a gift and a tool we were shown during childhood, but sometimes we forgot along the way as we got older. So if we can remember it together, we will find that happy is the way. So Vernon, thank you for joining me again today.
Well, I appreciate your energy and considering like we had some hoops to jump through. So I'm appreciative for you. I'm appreciative for your listeners.
You know what? Things happen, and probably about maybe one episode every other month we have some, technical challenges with. So I'm pretty happy about that. But it's always worth it when I can have a second conversation with people because I already know so many wonderful things about you that I can't wait to make sure we highlight. So I hit just a couple highlights on your bio, but tell us a little bit more about you, your business, and how you help your clients to shock their potential.
Right. So I guess about me. I'm one of three. I'm the middle child. No judgments, no recommendations for who I might be. But no, my sister is 2 years older. My brother is 9 years younger. We call him the oops baby. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, growing up in our house, it was a little different. We had some struggles. We had some significant struggles. But what I learned through those struggles is, we can get caught into what's wrong and what we didn't have. But for me, it's always looking at what's really there. And that's when I discovered a gift of long suffering. And it bred a lot of just perspective on things. I think one of the biggest perspective for me is you can go through the same experiences angry, or you can go through the experience and make the best of it. And we were always raised like you didn't have power, you didn't have water, you didn't have food, but we had a way to make ourselves laugh. And even when the power's off, and not because the lightning struck it, but just, bills weren't getting paid, we had some of the best times. And I just saw some people, who had some similar struggles when I was growing up, and it was the end of the world for them.
Mm-hmm.
But what I learned is when we were having fun, we were making the best out of what we could. It wasn't as long, maybe the time passed because we were laughing more, right? Maybe the time passed, faster because we were in a place where we were trying to find solutions together, but still have fun. It just really touched me. And I think the second thing is intuition. And it was just such a gift that I picked up that I wouldn't have been able to get had I, my belief anyway, that I wouldn't have been able to get, had I not gone through those things and, kind of expedited my superpower, being created is what I call it. And it's taken, a lot of, my experiences, a lot of my just beliefs and packaging it up into what you're happy. And it's getting people, it's not that happiness is automatically, all right, clap your hands, stomp your feet. It's not like all of us feel like, all right, problems are solved. But no, it's just you, when you're more solution focused, when you've got higher energy, when you're more positive, things change. Your brain is going to seek whatever you tell it. If you think it's something bad and everything's bad, it will find a way to be bad. I promise you. If
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking that, oh, why is life picking on me? If you're thinking, what's life trying to tell me? Or what's life trying to reveal to me that I wouldn't have seen without experiencing this, it changes because one is teaching you and the other one is victimizing you.
Mm.
And when you use that higher energy, more positive approach, it opens you up to leveling up. And I think a big thing also is sometimes people perceive their struggles as struggles. Like, no, those struggles are putting you through some stress so you can grow. It's like working a bicep.
Yeah.
Struggle equals success. And most people are leveling up, but they don't recognize it.
Yeah, I think that's so gosh, I mean, you have so many examples of that. And I know I sometimes I look at, people and I think, how can you be so miserable? I mean, sure, there's bad stuff going on in the world and you've had bad stuff, happening to you, but it seems to me that there's people that just cultivate this life of being miserable. And I just want to take them and shake them and go, come on, there's a better way. Just come with me.
Yeah, it's tough. This recently I was at the grocery store because the grocery store is one of my happies. And I saw the cashier, and this was this morning. I got some weird happies. I'm sure we'll cover that by happy later on. But I saw the lady, and I could see she just had this look. It was just like this curmudgeon look.
Hmm.
And the typical approach is like, by the way, never say this to people, it doesn't help. You should smile more, will instantly get you punched. But I know I saw that she was having a tough time. Like maybe she had a bad moment, not necessarily saying she
Yeah.
had a bad day. And I just looked at her and I saw her name tag was Kathy. So immediately when you say people's name and they don't, they're like, oh, they pipe up. And I was like, hey,
Yes.
Kathy, how are you? She's like, do I know you? I was like, you do now. And then we just hit it off. And next thing you know, she's telling me this recipe for pulled pork that she has. And it was like a 5 minute thing. And I could see like her energy perked up. I could just see like her shoulders relaxed. I could just see like she was a different person. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we're not aware of how we are sometimes because it could be practiced a lot. It could be something that you don't even realize that you're doing. So for me, it's just like, how can I get this person to wake up or to perk up, in
Hmm.
a way that, really benefits them. And it's also genuine.
Yeah, I love that because you do see people all the time, and sometimes if you're going through the grocery store, what a great example. You're like, oh, why did I pick this lane? Like I don't want this person to
Yeah.
suck the life out of me. But we can have some impact in there, and maybe just even a compliment, a dialogue, something to remind them that no matter what else is going on in your life, at least at this moment, maybe if I can get one little smile out of you, maybe that will change
Absolutely.
the trajectory of your day.
It will. A quick tip. I remember my days as a bartender, and it was, no one cares about how long it takes to your mojito. I mean, sometimes some people do, but the majority of time, it's just people want to feel noticed. And whenever you're out in public or whenever I'm out and I see something, and I could see someone's in a particular place, not necessarily, bad, but I could just see they're in a place where maybe they're deep in thought and they're not present. I just always look at the person. I'm such an accoutrement person. Like I love watches. So if I see
Mm-hmm.
someone has like there's a distinct thing, like a watch person when you see it. And you can
Absolutely.
just comment on their watch. Like that's a really nice watch. And all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, well this band is this. And next thing you know, they're just leaning in. And like, for example, with you, I'm like, oh my God, I love your earrings. And it's being serious. I love your hair. Like when people have these distinctions, use them to their advantage. We're not noticed enough. I mean, people
Yeah.
tell you what's wrong, but they don't compliment you.
Yeah. And
Be mindful. Don't say anything foolish.
yeah. I mean, yeah, you got to be more careful these days in some cases, but at the same time I think sometimes we're so afraid that we're missing those situations. And one of the things that I tell people when they're like, "Oh, I love your hair or whatever," and we talk about my hair, I go, "The great thing about having hair like this, besides the fact that it's my personality, is that if I am out and about, I get at least two compliments a day." So
I
it
bet.
boosts my
I
spirit
bet.
too. Plus, it makes people smile sometimes because they
I
like it, and
like that.
sometimes they're
Very
like,
strategic.
"Mm, yeah," and sometimes they're like, "What is wrong with that woman?" It happens.
She's fun is probably what they're thinking. I want to know how to have fun like her.
Now, I know in some of our previous discussions, you talked about time in your life where you were a male model in New
Mhm.
York. And I know as we were talking about it, I'd love to have you share a little bit of that story because what struck me about it was your sense of, sometimes you're like, hey, this is going to be great. And then you realize sometimes you have to keep that happiness going in the midst of maybe how you might be brought down or how you might be compared to others or how you're standing in that room. And I think there's a lot of people that, struggle with those issues of self-confidence and self-image.
Mhm.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's, I forget about it until it gets brought up, to be honest with you. And I mean, I'm very appreciative for it. Don't get me wrong. But it was, I remember being in Richmond and I never, from my background, I never thought about myself in that way. I still don't. It's just a big thing for me is how pretty are you when the lights are off? And I just was an
Mm.
ugly duckling growing up, and this is some things some people have shared with me. And I was in my 20s, mid 20s, and someone said you should do it. I kind of denied it. No way, no way, no way, no way. But life has a way of tapping you on the shoulder and say, hey, guess what? You're going to do. And so I took some chances. And when I say some chances, it's just, it took, I can't even say it was confidence. It was just, I'm going to make this work. I shot some pictures in Richmond and I sent it to 16 agencies in New York. Because if I figured if I'm going to do anything that's still me now, I'm going for the top. I'm like, if I'm not going to work to get it to work, it's going to come from the a capital, the top place. And so the 15 of the agency said no, but one said yes, and that's all I needed. So I,
Mm-hmm.
jumped on a plane, which I'd never flown before, flown in before, which is, kind of sad to say, but it really, expedited more things in my life just because I started really bolder. And for me, confidence is just being bold in many cases. It's not that you're not scared. It's not that you don't have those doubts of am I enough or, what could happen. It's just we gotta go, and just life is precious. I'm always reminded of that, always, and especially now. But I mean, things worked out pretty well for me, and it wasn't just it wasn't looks. I'm a big believer. Like when you go to a casting, if anybody's been to one, your mom and your sister, your cousin all say you are so unique. I thought I was unique, right? And I went there and everybody's got the little brown bald head. Everyone's 6'4". Everyone's got a similar build. And it's like, y'all are liars and the biggest liars I've ever been told, seen in my life. And so it's like, it's just why looks say, I say they don't matter because it's when everybody's bringing the same, kind of aesthetics to the table, what's next,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, it's just personality. For me, it was just sense of humor, for being, solid in who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew like that situation didn't make me, it wasn't, I didn't need to be accepted by them to know that, I was significant. Not that I'm better than, but I bring something to the table. And, I'm also, most things don't bother me. So I'm very easy to get along with and I can get along with anybody. And that's to just, being present, being kind, being courteous, and just having fun.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think people overlook how the power of, fun and humor. Who doesn't
Mm.
want to be around someone who's just fun? You're going to have a good time. And that's, that's just a big thing with me with being confident. It's just, even if it doesn't work out, we're going to laugh. So it's like, no matter what, there's a win here, right? So when you're
Yes.
confident in the fact of things like that, you just, it changes things. And even if you're not funny, figure out ways to just make it like such a great experience for people. They will just remember you, they'll love you. And the next thing you know, it's just like the confidence just kind of shows up. I don't even know how I got confident like this. I'll be honest, because that was never my intention. I was
Mm-hmm.
just so focused on being bold, even when I was scared. I was just so focused on, living a life that I was in control of versus the life that I had when I was younger. I didn't ask to be evicted. I didn't ask, to be bullied. I didn't ask to be, someone to try to kidnap me. But what I learned is from those experiences that were kind of shoved in my face, you got to demand some things from life, and that requires being bold. Do it until you're confident. Know what you want and go after it. And I had
Mm-hmm.
some great experiences. But I think on the kind of other end of that is know when you're done.
Mm.
I had a
Yeah.
great, 2.5, 3 year run. Great. And could I have continued? Absolutely. But I was full. I was completely full with it. And, one thing about me, it's like, I don't like being on camera. I like being the guy in the background. I don't want you to see me. I'm just a quiet nerd. And once I had the kind of was full of those experiences and I don't regret any of them, it's just like, it's time to go. So I was just like, thank you so much, everyone. But it's like, I think I'm heading back.
Yeah.
And that's when What You're Happy was born.
I love it. As you were talking, I thought two things. The first thing is just thinking about your modeling experience is it reminded me of there's an episode of Friends where, the character of Joey is at a casting call and he's trying to figure out like he wants to get in some like pharmaceutical trial or something, some, medical trial, but he has to have a twin. And he's like, where will I find someone who looks exactly like me? And then they pan out and all the guys look exactly like him in the room. And he's like,
That's
ah,
that's exactly what it's like. It's like you might not, sometimes you'll say, oh, I'm not quite sure what I look like. When you walk into a casting, you're like, well, I know what I look like. It's just, it was like doppelganger, clone. It was a trip. So yeah, I remember that episode too.
Well, the other thing I was thinking about is, and it just actually came from, you talking about confidence and gaining confidence, or kind of, not fake it till you make it, but kind of that idea that you just have to go for things sometimes. And one of the things that I've been trying to work on with myself is when somebody gives me a compliment, to not negate the compliment. Like somebody says,
yeah.
oh, hey, you look great. Have you lost weight? If I say, well, no, or I did, but it's not enough, or, whatever, you're like, just say thank you.
Yes.
You look great. Absolutely. Thank you.
I get it, because I used to do that a lot. Or like someone would say, you look great. Well, no, it's just a coat. It's just a coat. It's like, no. Step into that.
Yes.
You work hard. Even if you haven't worked hard and maybe you did gain weight and they think you lost weight, take it, because that's telling me that maybe you've been harder on yourself and you carry it well.
Exactly. And I think that that's, a lot about how our sense of confidence still needs to be built like a muscle. You're talking, about, working on your biceps. It should hurt a little. You should be pushing beyond your limits, so beyond your comfort a little bit, to build up that muscle. And I think, confidence and belief in ourselves takes that same kind of push.
Exactly. And it's, I think, when I say the word superpower, when I say superpowers, I mean, like, what are you amazing at? Mm-hmm. And it's one of those big practices, like, name 5 things that you're amazing at. And, people get quiet, and then, some people don't know, but there's some people who know, but they don't want to say, because they don't want to appear full of themselves. And I'm just always telling people and reminding people, like, stop being modest. You're going to walk out the door. You're going to go to the mailbox, and the mailman is going to give you an ugly look. Your boss is going to call you and say how slow you are. You're going to go in the room, and your kid's going to be like, you get on my nerves. There's no short supply of negativity out there, right? So it's like, why? You need to start at home. You need to start with yourself. Know what you're amazing at. You're not better than anyone, but you are amazing at making chicken cacciatore. That's great. That means you're nourishing people. Like, no, there's no shortage of what you can be amazing at. But say these things to yourself and believe it and share it with people. Some people are going to look at you like, oh, I can't believe you said that. And that's not you. That's the reflection of where they are. You never said you're better than. I can't say that enough. But all you're saying is, like, you know what? I can make anybody laugh. I know I'm amazing at it.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Shock Your Potential podcast. Learn more about us today at shockyourpotential.com, including details on Michael's 2 best-selling books. Tell me more. How to ask the right questions and get the most out of your employees, and sales mixology, why the most potent sales and customer experiences follow a recipe for success. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and like us today.